Ambassador James Miller fought to keep his face neutral as he sat in the massive grand chamber of the Galactic Council. The chamber's crystal walls reached hundreds of feet into the air, designed to make newer species feel small and insignificant. Today, it was having the opposite effect on him. Every sparkle of light through the crystal reminded him of humanity's achievements, achievements that these ancient races feared. The head speaker, a tall being with gray-blue skin that seemed to ripple like water, stood at the central podium. Its voice boomed through the chamber. The expansion of human quantum computing facilities in the Orion sector must cease immediately. We have received reports of dangerous advancements that threaten the stability of our peaceful galaxy. Miller wanted to laugh. Peaceful was just another word for stagnant in council language. He looked around at the other representatives. The older races sat in their elevated positions, their fancy robes and biological enhancements, making them look like living statues. The younger races huddled in the lower seats, heads down, accepting whatever scraps of technology and trade rights the council deemed safe to give them. Furthermore, the head speaker continued, all human AI research facilities must submit to council inspection. We cannot risk another incident like the Mars breakthrough. The Mars breakthrough. Miller's hands tightened on his armrests. Humanity's first true quantum AI had solved problems in hours that the council races had debated for centuries. Instead of celebrating this achievement, the council had labeled it a grave concern. A small screen on Miller's desk lit up with a message from Earth. They're moving against the Jupiter shipyards. Confirmation of council interference in Colony 9. Waiting for your signal. Miller stood up, a movement so sudden that several alien representatives flinched. In a chamber where debates could last for weeks, any quick motion was considered uncivilized. The human delegation would like to respond, he said, his voice clear and firm. The head speaker's rippling skin showed patterns of surprise. The council has not finished presenting its concerns, Ambassador Miller. There are 17 more points to address regarding human technological containment. Containment. Miller let the word hang in the air. An interesting choice of words. Let me share some concerns of my own. He pressed a button on his desk, and the chamber's massive display screens came to life. They showed footage of council ships interfering with human colony ships, evidence of sabotage at human research stations, and intercepted communications discussing ways to limit human potential. We did not join this council to be contained, Miller said. Humanity came here to cooperate, to share knowledge, to grow together. Instead, we found a group of ancient races so afraid of change that they would sabotage a young species rather than risk being surpassed. Chaos erupted in the chamber. The younger races whispered among themselves, while the ancient races shouted demands for the displays to be shut down. The head speaker's skin had turned a pale white. This is highly irregular. These accusations are true, Miller cut in, and we're done playing this game. Humanity formally rejects all council resolutions attempting to restrict our development. We will not submit to inspections. We will not slow our expansion. We will not limit our AI research. He straightened his jacket and looked around the chamber one last time. Earth has already been notified. As I speak, we are withdrawing all human representatives from council institutions. Our trade ships are returning to human space. Your economies have 3 standard hours before the effects begin to hit. The chamber exploded into shouts and threats, but Miller was already walking toward the exit. A small alien representative from one of the younger races caught his eye as he passed. You'll doom us all, the head speaker shouted. Without the council's guidance, there will be chaos. Miller paused at the door. No, he said, allowing himself a small smile. Without your chains, there will be progress. The massive doors closed behind him with a final, resounding boom. As he walked away, he could still hear the pandemonium in the chamber. The gathered races of the galaxy were about to learn a lesson humanity had known for centuries. Real peace doesn't come from control. It comes from freedom. Earth's message had been right. The Council had finally pushed too far. Now they would learn why humans had a reputation for pushing back. The Global Defense Council chamber in Geneva was nothing like the flashy Galactic Council Hall. Its walls were plain steel, its chairs simple but comfortable. The people inside didn't need crystal spires to feel important. Their actions spoke louder than any architecture. Commander Anna Thompson stood at the front of the room, her uniform crisp despite having been awake for the past 30 hours. The holographic display behind her showed dozens of damaged human ships and sabotaged colonies. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "what you're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg. In the past month alone, we've recorded 47 accidents at our outer colonies, all of them traced back to Council vessels." The room was silent. These weren't politicians. These were Earth's top military and intelligence leaders. They understood the weight of each number, each lost life. Intelligence Director Robert Wells stepped forward next. His gray hair and simple black suit made him look more like a grandfather than Earth's spymaster. "We've intercepted communications between Council races. The sabotage isn't random. It's coordinated." He pressed a button, and new images appeared. "They target our most advanced facilities first. The colony attacks are meant to slow us down, make us waste resources on repairs. Meanwhile, their diplomatic missions plant monitoring devices in our shipyards." The room erupted in angry mutters. Admiral Peters, a stern woman with weather-beaten features, spoke up. "Why now? Why show their hand with these new restrictions?" Thompson clicked to the next slide. It showed a graph of human technological progress compared to Council races. "Because we're advancing too fast. Their own projections show us matching their technology level within 20 years. Some areas, like AI and quantum computing, we're already ahead." "They're scared," Wells added. "For 50,000 years, they've controlled younger races through these guidance programs. But we're different. We don't follow their careful, planned development paths. We innovate. We take risks. We break their rules without even knowing they exist." The doors opened, and Ambassador Miller walked in. Everyone turned to look at him. His face was tired but satisfied. "The message has been delivered," he said. "As expected, they didn't take it well." Thompson nodded. "Status of our withdrawal: already underway. Trade ships are returning to human space. Colonial defense fleets are on high alert. And our AI systems." He smiled. "Well, they're doing what they do best, adapting." Wells pulled up another display, this one showing economic projections. "The Council races depend on our shipping networks more than they admit. Within days, their trading systems will start to break down. They've grown lazy, letting us handle the dangerous routes, the complex logistics." "And the other young races?" Admiral Peters asked. "Watching closely," Miller replied. "The Council's been holding them back too, some for thousands of years. When they see us break free without consequences." He let the implication hang in the air. Thompson stepped forward again. "Our next steps are critical. The Council believes we'll come crawling back when we realize we need them. They don't understand that humanity has never needed their permission to grow." "Options?" someone asked. "We build," Thompson said firmly. "We expand. We show the galaxy what real progress looks like. Not their careful, controlled advancement, but true innovation, the kind that comes from freedom." "And when they try to stop us?" Peter's question carried the weight of potential war. Miller's expression hardened. "They won't. Their power comes from everyone believing they're invincible. We've already shown that's a lie. Now we show them what humanity does best. We adapt, we grow, and we never, ever back down." The room filled with determined nods. Earth's leaders had seen enough. The Council had tried to clip humanity's wings, but they'd forgotten something important. Humans had never been good at accepting limits. Now the galaxy would see what happened when those limits were broken. The news spread across Earth's colonies like wildfire. Every screen, from the smallest personal device to the largest public displays, showed the same image: the Earth flag being lowered at the Galactic Council headquarters. In New York, the United Earth government had prepared something special. Tom Wilson, the global communications director, stood before hundreds of reporters from both Earth and alien worlds. The plain wooden podium held no fancy technology, just a single piece of paper. For too long, Wilson began, his voice steady, humanity has tried to play by rules we didn't write. Today that ends. The alien reporters shifted uncomfortably. Their species were used to long, flowery speeches that said little. Wilson's direct approach unsettled them. He held up the paper. This is the Declaration of Human Independence. It's short, it's simple, and it changes everything. The document appeared on screens worldwide. Unlike council documents that often ran thousands of pages, this one was barely 2 pages long. Its message was clear. Humanity was done asking for permission to grow. In orbit above Earth, the change was already visible. Hundreds of human ships were returning home from council space. They moved with military precision, following evacuation plans that had been secretly prepared months ago. The council races, used to taking days just to begin planning, watched in shock as the human withdrawal unfolded in hours. On Mars, Dr. Lisa Ward watched the declaration from her quantum computing lab. Her team had been the target of many council restrictions. Now, they were finally free to push their research to its limits. Run the full sequence, she told her AI assistant. No more council safety protocols. The AI's response was immediate. Calculations that had been artificially slowed began racing at full speed. Problems that the council had labeled too dangerous to solve were tackled one after another. Back in council space, the effects were already showing. A major trade hub near Alpha Centauri ground to a halt as human shipping companies withdrew their vessels. The council races had forgotten a simple fact. Humans ran nearly 40% of all interstellar shipping. On Colony 9, Governor Mark Davis watched his people cheer as the council observation post packed up and left. The aliens had claimed they were there to help and guide the colony's development. In reality, they had blocked every major technological advance the colonists tried to make. "Sir," his assistant called out, "the new quantum transmitter is ready for testing." Davis smiled. The council had specifically forbidden that technology, claiming it was unstable. Within hours of the declaration, his engineers had not only finished building it but improved its design. The council's emergency session was in its 10th hour when they'd finally realized the truth. Their attempts to contact Earth were met with a simple automated message. "Thank you for your communication. As per the Declaration of Human Independence, all diplomatic relations will now be handled through the new Human Space Administration. Please note that our response times are significantly faster than Council standard. Expect reply within 24 Earth hours." Some council members laughed at first. Surely humans couldn't function without their guidance. Their trade networks, their technology-sharing programs. They stopped laughing when the economic reports came in. Human ships had been the backbone of galactic trade. Human innovations had driven progress in dozens of fields. Human colonies had been the fastest-growing market for council goods. All of that was gone now. Not destroyed or attacked, simply withdrawn. The humans hadn't fired a single shot, yet they had shaken the Council's power more than any war. In Geneva, the Global Defense Council received updates from across the galaxy. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. The Council had expected protests, maybe even military threats. Instead, humanity had simply left. As Commander Thompson told her staff, "Sometimes the strongest move isn't to fight the system. Sometimes it's just to walk away and build something better." The galaxy was about to learn what humanity could do when it stopped following other people's rules. 1 week after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council's perfect order began crumbling. The Grand Crystal Chamber, once a symbol of power, now echoed with angry shouts and accusations. The head speaker's skin had turned a sickly pale blue as it read the latest reports. 3 more trading hubs have shut down completely. The Outer Rim colonies are running out of basic supplies. And the Green Star Association is demanding emergency aid. In the lower seats, representatives from younger races watched with growing interest. The council's mask of unity was cracking. On a trade station near the Pleiades, cargo supervisor Bill Johnson worked with his AI system to coordinate the last human ships leaving the area. He watched as alien merchants argued over suddenly empty docking bays. Another council ship requesting emergency transport, his AI reported. Johnson shook his head. Same answer as the others. We're only handling human cargo now. The alien captain's response was desperate. We'll pay triple the usual rate. It's not about money, Johnson replied. Those are our orders. Clear shipping lanes. No exceptions. Across council space, the same scene played out thousands of times. Humanity hadn't just been participating in galactic trade. They had been holding it together. Their ships were faster, their routes more efficient, their AI systems better at coordinating complex deliveries. In the council chamber, the representative from the Rigel system stood up. His species was young by council standards, only spacefaring for a few thousand years. Why did no one tell us humans were managing so much of our trade? He demanded. The head speaker's skin rippled with annoyance. The council has always maintained proper oversight of all galactic commerce. Oversight? Another young race's representative laughed. You mean you took credit while humans did the work? My world's entire mining industry depended on human transport ships. Now our economy is collapsing. On Earth, Intelligence Director Wells watched the council's internal communications with satisfaction. They're starting to turn on each other, he told his team. The younger races are asking questions the council can't answer. The evidence was clear in every report. 3 different species had already sent secret messages to Earth, asking about direct trade agreements outside council control. 5 more had begun copying human technological designs that the council had previously forbidden. The council's carefully maintained image of unity shattered completely when the Centauri League, a group of younger spacefaring races, announced they were reviewing their membership status. The head speaker called an emergency session, but for the first time in 50,000 years, several races didn't bother to attend. You told us humans were dangerous, one representative shouted during the session. But they never attacked us. They never threatened us. They just left. And somehow that's worse than any war could have been. In human space, the changes were already visible. Freed from council restrictions, colonies were developing at incredible speeds. The quantum AI network, no longer forced to operate at reduced capacity, was solving problems that had stumped the council for centuries. Ambassador Miller, watching the council's chaos from his office on Earth, received an interesting message. The younger races were planning their own exodus. They see now, he told Commander Thompson. The council didn't make peace. They made a prison. And we just showed everyone the door. Thompson nodded. How long until the council tries to stop them? They can't, Miller replied. Their power was always built on looking invincible. Now everyone sees the truth. They're paper tigers. All those warships they have, most haven't moved in centuries. Their crews don't even remember how to fight. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone had expected. The council had spent 50,000 years building their perfect, controlled society. Humanity had broken it in just 7 days, not with weapons or wars, but simply by showing that there was another way to live. Deep in the council archives, Master Historian Bluestone moved through rows of ancient data crystals. The tall, thin alien had spent centuries organizing these records, but never questioning their contents. Until now. Professor, his young assistant called out, I found something strange in the First Age records. Bluestone floated over. The assistant held up a crystal that glowed with a dull red light. The oldest kind of council recording. Its label read, Emergency Session. The First Uprising. That's impossible, Bluestone whispered. The council archives say there has never been an uprising. They placed the crystal in a reader. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a council chamber from 50,000 years ago. It looked different, simpler, less grand. The head speaker of that time spoke with fear in its voice. The younger races are advancing too quickly. The Centauri have developed faster than light travel independently. The Rigel systems are exploring artificial intelligence. If we don't act now, they will surpass us within centuries. Bluestone's hand shook as he accessed more crystals. Each one revealed similar scenes. The council meeting in secret, planning ways to slow down younger civilizations. Look at this, his assistant pointed to another record. They didn't just guide younger races, they deliberately sabotaged them. Every time a species got close to making a major breakthrough, the council arranged an accident or created a new regulation to stop them. In his private chamber that evening, Bluestone sent copies of everything to both human space and the younger council races. His message was simple: the truth must be known. On Earth, Intelligence Director Wells reviewed the archives with growing anger. They've been doing this since the beginning, he told the Global Defense Council. 50,000 years of keeping other races down. The records showed it all. The council had developed a system they called guided evolution. Whenever a new race reached the stars, the council would welcome them warmly, then slowly wrap them in rules and restrictions. Species that developed too quickly were labeled dangerous or unstable. The human AI network analyzed the data in seconds. It found patterns even Bluestone had missed. The council hadn't just stopped progress, they had erased the memory of it. Generations of younger races had grown up believing rapid advancement was impossible, even wrong. In the council chamber, the revelations hit like a bomb. Young races that had accepted council authority for thousands of years suddenly saw their history in a new light. Their ancestors hadn't been slow or careful. They had been caged. Every regulation, every restriction, the Rigel representative announced to the chamber, was designed to keep us weak. They feared us surpassing them so much that they turned the entire galaxy into their prison. The head speaker tried to maintain order. These records are clearly fake, human propaganda. But Bluestone himself floated to the center of the chamber. I have spent 3,000 years managing these archives. I know every authentication mark, every security seal. These records are real. He turned slowly, addressing all the representatives. The council didn't create peace. They created stagnation, and humanity was the first race strong enough to break free. The younger races erupted in shouts and demands. Some called for the council's immediate dissolution. Others demanded access to their original, unaltered historical records. Back in his archives, Bluestone received an unexpected message from Earth. It was an invitation to visit human space and see unrestricted development firsthand. As he prepared for the journey, he thought about how much knowledge had been lost, how many discoveries had been buried. Perhaps, he told his assistant, it's time for someone to write a true history of the galaxy. Not the council's perfect fairy tale, but the real story, including humanity's chapter, which might be the most important one of all. 2 months after humanity's departure, the Centauri League made its move. 7 young races announced they were leaving the council to form a trade alliance with humans. The council's response was immediate and desperate. Any race that leaves will face military action, the head speaker declared. Its skin now stayed permanently pale, a sign of deep stress. We have 10,000 warships. The humans have barely 500. In the council chamber, the Centauri representative stood tall. Then send your ships. We're not afraid anymore. On the edges of human space, Commander Thompson watched the council's mighty fleet begin to move. The ships were enormous, covered in golden decorations and ceremonial markings. They looked impressive on long-range scanners. They're spreading out in attack formation, her tactical officer reported. But something's wrong. Their movements are clumsy. Thompson smiled. The council ships hadn't fought a real battle in thousands of years. Their crews trained for parades, not combat. Their weapons were more decorative than dangerous. Launch our new quantum drones, she ordered. Let's show them what real military technology looks like. The human drones were small, plain, and absolutely deadly. While council ships lumbered through space like giant targets, the drones darted between them at speeds their ancient targeting systems couldn't track. Within hours, the entire council fleet was disabled. Not destroyed, just stripped of their ability to fight. Human tech targeted their engines, weapons, and communications with surgical precision. Not a single life was lost. The Council's military reputation, built over 50,000 years, died in a single afternoon. Impossible, the head speaker shouted when it got the news. Our ships are the most powerful in the galaxy. We're the most powerful, the Rigel representative corrected. 1,000 years ago. But you were so busy holding everyone else back, you forgot to advance yourselves. In orbit around Earth, Ambassador Miller met with representatives from 20 younger races. They gathered in a simple meeting room with plain metal walls and practical furniture. No crystal spires, no golden decorations, just people ready to work. We don't want to control you, Miller told them. We want to trade with you, learn from you, grow with you. That's what the Council forgot. Real strength comes from working together, not holding others down. One by one, the younger races signed new treaties with Earth. Not the Council's 1,000-page regulations, but simple agreements. Free trade, shared research, mutual defense. Some races wept as they signed. 50,000 years of restrictions finally ending. The Council tried one last desperate move. They threatened to reveal dangerous secrets about human technology to the galaxy. Go ahead, Miller told them through an open channel. We have no secrets. Every human advancement is published openly. Any race that wants to learn from us can simply ask. That was the final blow to the Council's power. Young races that had been taught to fear rapid progress saw that humans shared everything they learned. Knowledge wasn't dangerous. Keeping it locked away was. In her office on Earth, Commander Thompson received reports from across the galaxy. Council space was shrinking as more races declared independence. Some of the oldest Council races had retreated to their home systems, locking themselves away from a galaxy they couldn't control anymore. They still don't understand, she told Miller. We never wanted to destroy them. We just wanted them to let everyone grow. They will learn, Miller replied, or they will fade away. Either way, the galaxy is changing, and this time, no one can stop it. The Council's power was broken, not by weapons or wars, but by something they had never expected. The simple courage to walk away and build something better. 1 year after humanity's departure from the Council, the galaxy looked very different. The massive Council chamber, once the center of all galactic power, stood nearly empty. In its place, a new gathering was taking shape on Earth. The Open Galaxy Initiative headquarters was everything the Council wasn't. Its building was modern and practical, with large windows that actually let in sunlight. Representatives from 30 different species moved freely through its halls, sharing ideas instead of following rigid protocols. Ambassador Miller watched from his new office as a group of alien scientists excitedly showed their human colleagues a new engine design. Just last year, that kind of interaction would have been forbidden. Another breakthrough from the Rigel team, his assistant reported. Their quantum physics research, combined with our AI systems, has increased engine efficiency by 300%. Miller nodded. Send it to the public database. Let everyone benefit. That was the biggest change in the new order. Knowledge flowed freely. The Council's endless restrictions had been replaced by a simple rule. Share what you learn what is shared. In orbit above Earth, Commander Thompson guided her ship alongside vessels from former Council races. They weren't there for parades or shows of power, but for joint training exercises. Young races were finally learning to defend themselves instead of relying on Council protection. The Centauri ships are getting faster, her tactical officer noted. They've already improved on our drone designs. Good, Thompson replied. That's exactly what we wanted. Everyone growing, everyone improving. The old Council races had split into 3 groups. Some, like Bluestone's people, had joined the Open Galaxy Initiative, bringing their ancient knowledge to share freely. Others had retreated to their core worlds, building walls against change. A few still clung to the empty council chamber, pretending nothing had changed. In his archive on Earth, Bluestone worked with historians from 20 species to record recent events. The true history of the galaxy was finally being written. Humans didn't just free themselves, he wrote in his personal notes. They freed all of us. Not through force or conquest, but by showing us we had the power to free ourselves all along. The changes were visible everywhere. Colonies that had been stuck at the same technology level for thousands of years were now launching their own research stations. Trade routes that once required council permission now flowed freely, managed by a network of AI systems that any race could access and improve. At a trading post near Alpha Centauri, Bill Johnson watched ships from 50 different species dock and trade freely. His AI system, now enhanced by contributions from 3 different races, handled the complex traffic patterns with ease. "Remember when this was all restricted?" he asked a Centauri merchant. "Now look at it." The merchant's 6 eyes blinked happily. "My grandchildren won't believe there was a time when we needed permission to trade, or that we once thought taking 1,000 years to develop new technology was normal." On Earth, the Global Defense Council had its final meeting about the old Galactic Council. The threat was over, not because the old council had been destroyed, but because it had become irrelevant. "They still send us warnings sometimes," Intelligence Director Wells reported, "threatening us with consequences if we don't return to their control." "And the younger races?" Thompson asked. "Don't even bother reading the warnings anymore. They're too busy building the future." Ambassador Miller looked out at the bustling headquarters of the Open Galaxy Initiative. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing discoveries, solving problems together. This wasn't the controlled piece of the council, but something better: real cooperation, real progress. "The council thought they were protecting the galaxy," he said, "but they were really just stopping it from growing. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't to fight the old system. It's to build a new one." The galaxy was moving forward again, faster and freer than ever before. And if the old council races wanted to join this new future, they would find humanity's door was still open, not as rulers or guides, but as equals in the great journey of discovery ahead.